On the morning of January 15th, 1947, a woman walking through a vacant lot in Los Angeles stumbled upon something that would haunt the city forever. At first, she thought it was a broken mannequin, discarded in the dirt. But as she stepped closer, her breath caught in her throat. It wasn't a mannequin. It was a woman's body, severed in half at the waist, drained of blood, with a ghastly frozen smile carved into her face. This wasn't just a murder. It was a message. A grotesque, calculated crime that sent shockwaves through Hollywood and beyond. The press would come to call her the Black Dahlia, and more than 75 years later, no one knows who killed her. Welcome to Mystery Trails, where we uncover chilling true crime, baffling disappearances, and unexplained events across the U.S. If you love a good mystery, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share with your friends to help us grow. Now let's start exploring the unknown together and dive on into the story. Los Angeles in the 1940s was a city caught between glitz and shadows. It was the golden age of Hollywood, where the likes of Rita Hayworth, Humphrey Bogart, and Marilyn Monroe lit up the silver screen, and where every waitress, every cigarette girl, every small-town dreamer believed they could be next. Neon signs flickered over Sunset Boulevard. Jazz spilled out of nightclubs. Studio executives, gangsters, and desperate starlets moved through a world of dazzling premieres and darkened alleyways. But beneath the glamour, Hollywood had a darker side. It was a city built on illusions, where power came at a price, where men controlled the industry, and where women were disposable. Young hopefuls arrived with dreams of fame, only to be chewed up and spit out, if they weren't careful. Elizabeth Short was one of them. Elizabeth Short was a 22-year-old aspiring actress, a dark-haired beauty with piercing blue eyes and a longing for stardom. She was born in Boston, Massachusetts, but Hollywood called to her, just as it did for so many young women seeking escape, fame, and fortune. To those who met her, she was charming, a little mysterious, and always dressed to impress. She wore all black, styled her hair in soft waves, and had an almost ethereal beauty that turned heads. But behind her, Hollywood glamour was a life of struggle. She bounced between waitressing jobs, cheap hotels, and fleeting relationships, always hoping that her big break was just around the corner. But Hollywood can be cruel, and instead of stardom, Elizabeth Short became something else, a legend, a ghost, a symbol of the city's darkest secrets. It was just after 10 a.m. on January 15th, 1947, when a woman named Betty Bersinger walked down Norton Avenue in Leimert Park, a quiet residential area of Los Angeles. She was pushing her 3-year-old daughter in a stroller when she spotted something in an empty weed-filled lot. At first glance, it looked like a mannequin, pale and lifeless, dumped in the dirt. But something felt off. When she took a closer look, she screamed. It wasn't a mannequin. It was the body of a young woman, cut cleanly in half at the waist. Her skin was pale as porcelain, completely drained of blood, leaving her corpse with a ghostly waxen appearance. But it wasn't just the mutilation that sent terror through the neighborhood. It was the calculated, nightmarish details. Her mouth had been slashed from ear to ear, creating a grotesque, permanent grin. Her intestines had been pulled out and carefully tucked beneath her lower body. Her wrists and ankles bore rope burns, suggesting she had been tied up and tortured before death. There wasn't a single drop of blood at the scene. Whoever had done this had taken their time, killed her elsewhere, then washed the body clean before displaying it like a macabre work of art. It was a murder unlike anything Los Angeles had ever seen, and it was only the beginning. By noon, the press had already descended on the crime scene. Reporters climbed over police lines, snapping photos, sensationalizing every gruesome detail. When detectives identified the victim as Elizabeth Short, the newspapers gave her a name that would outlive her, the Black Dahlia, inspired by a 1946 film, The Blue Dahlia, and her signature dark clothing. The Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, launched one of the largest investigations in the city's history. More than 750 officers were assigned to the case, and over 150 suspects were questioned. But the killer stayed one step ahead. Just days after her murder, a taunting letter arrived at the Los Angeles Examiner newspaper. It was cut from magazine clippings, almost playful in its mockery. Here is Dahlia's belongings. Letter to follow. Inside was Elizabeth's birth certificate, personal photos, and an address book soaked in gasoline, wiped clean of fingerprints. The message was clear. The killer was watching, and he wasn't finished playing. The police received more than a dozen letters, some claiming responsibility, others taunting detectives. The killer even called the newspaper directly, telling the editor he was the one who killed her. But his voice was calm, distant, as if it was all a game. Despite hundreds of leads, the case unraveled. No fingerprints, no clear motive, no concrete suspects. The city was left paralyzed in fear. In the decades that followed, theories ran wild. Some believed a sadistic surgeon or butcher was responsible, given the precise surgical cuts to her body. Others pointed to Hollywood elites, speculating that Elizabeth had been caught up in something far darker than a failed acting career. One of the most chilling suspects was Dr. George Hodel, a wealthy physician with disturbing ties to underground Hollywood circles. His own son, former LAPD detective Steve Hodel, became convinced his father was the killer. Dr. Hodel had been accused of performing illegal abortions, abusing women, and even torturing his own daughter. In the 1950s, police bugged his house and recorded him saying, "Supposin' I did kill the Black Dahlia. They couldn't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary anymore because she's dead." But despite suspicions, no one was ever charged. More than 75 years later, the Black Dahlia murder remains unsolved. Elizabeth Short's name is whispered in true crime history, her smiling, haunting photo forever frozen in time. She became a symbol of Hollywood's dark side, a tragic figure swallowed by the city she hoped would make her a star. Was she the victim of a sadistic killer, a Hollywood conspiracy, or a secret that was never meant to be uncovered? The truth was buried long ago, and unless a confession emerges from the grave, the Black Dahlia will remain Hollywood's greatest unsolved mystery. Now we want to hear from you. Who do you think killed Elizabeth Short? Was it Dr. George Hodel, or do you believe another suspect was responsible? Do you think the LAPD knew more than they let on? Could there have been a cover-up in Hollywood's elite circles? What was the true motive behind this crime? Was it a crime of passion, a serial killer at work, or something far more sinister? Why do you think the killer taunted the press? Was he looking for fame, control, or simply playing a twisted game? Do you believe this case will ever be solved, or is the truth lost forever? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your theories and what you think really happened that chilling morning in 1947. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's darkest mystery, be sure to like this video, subscribe to Mystery Trails, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Next time, we'll uncover another unsolved case that will leave you questioning everything. Until then, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, some mysteries never die.